So in this video, I want to talk about landing your first sales role. I want to go through a couple of beliefs that people have about getting into the space, what the wrong thing to do is, and then what the right thing to do is. So firstly, for anyone who's starting out and has never really been in remote sales or high ticket sales before, if you think you're just going to jump into a fantastic role that pays you really well, it's not going to happen. Generally, this industry is commission based, so you don't get a base. You're not going to be in a position where someone's going to say, hey, listen, here's 3-4 grand, and your first month you're going to make 10-15 grand. I mean, I know some people that have, but I also know hundreds of closers, and most of them, that doesn't happen to them. I maybe know like 2 or 3 that kicked it off as soon as they got in. They had the right advice, they had the help, the network, everything like that. And so realistically, it's going to be a very slow process starting out. Not many people will tell you that, but that's the truth. Now, there's ways you can go about it, right? So the way that I recommend it is, if you're brand new, you go to the big companies. Like Iman Ghazi was the first person I worked with. There was progression within that. And so I could go from a setter, I became then a closer and then a sales manager, right? All in the one company. Companies like Seventh Level, big info companies, even Bread Scales is one of them. They're always looking for salespeople, right? Because the churn is really high. Most people can't hack it. They just end up leaving. And so they're always hiring and firing. Find a role like that, it's relatively easy. The biggest thing is the mindset, right? And that's going into it. Like you can land these roles relatively easily. You get in front of the right people, you run an interview and so on. You can land a good sales role. The biggest problem is that mentally, you most likely won't be able to stick it out. Most people don't. And so it really starts with the mindset, right? No matter where you're coming from, if you have a 9-to-5 or a job that you don't like, you are going to go into an industry that's extremely cutthroat, very competitive, and there are constantly people on your team that want to beat you. If a salary sounds more appealing to you, I would stick to your job, get paid your 2-3 grand a month, and just do that instead. If you want large upside, but also a lot of risk, then sales is a fantastic way to break into the online space with still minimal risk. It's someone else's business. Really, the only thing you'll pay with is time, right? If, for example, it's a shit offer, there's not a lot of leads coming in, you just pay with your time, but you don't lose money. I'd recommend before you get into the industry, you have a bit of savings, a couple of grand, a few grand in the bank, because it will be a slow process. You'd also want to consider investing into sales training. And then from there, you really have to look at this like it's your own business, right? As a setter, it doesn't matter if you're making $1 grand a month, 10 grand a month, 30 grand a month. It's your own business. You are self-employed. And so the amount of work you do and the amount of input you put in will determine the amount of output of how much money you make, how you use your time, and how you leverage the leads that you have. So knowing that before you go in is extremely important. You are going to have a hard time. It's just the truth. You're going to have to work 12-hour days, 13-hour days if you want to beat your competition. There are going to be people on that team that are willing to do that. There's always an A player. And so you have to be that person. There will be someone second to you. You'll find that you'll be competing for the number 1 spot. And that's the environment that you essentially want to be in. You should seek that. And so you'll notice that when you're in that environment, the competitive environment, you have to win, you have to push. It'll change you as a person, right? Because even if you don't really work, like employment broke is different to entrepreneur broke, because you're only just broke for the month. You're going to get your paycheck in 30 days. When you're entrepreneur broke, if you don't work, you don't make any money. And it's like you have to show up. Otherwise, you have to go back and get a job. And so looking at sales as entrepreneurship essentially is key. Not only that, but also keep in mind, you will be doing $100, $200 a day or taking a lot of sales calls if you're closing off the bat every single day. It's going to be very easy at the beginning to get beaten down from not being able to close a deal. For example, you objection handle, you spend an hour on a sales call, you don't close that deal. The key is to become detached from that happening, because it's very easy to put yourself in a bad mood. You have 5 calls left for the day, and what's going to happen is it's going to affect your mentality. You're going to show up, you're going to be down, your energy is going to be low, and it's going to fuck up the rest of your day. And so always remember to look at your progression over the course of the month. Right? For example, you can have a bad day where you don't close anything. But if you extend your time horizon to 2 weeks or 3, like a month, 3 months, and then look at your numbers, once you're closing, 30, 40% on some offers, maybe even higher, 50%, and your trajectory is upwards. And so you're moving up the leaderboard, that's all that matters. And so like you can't get beaten down by not closing a deal, because that's part of the process. Sales is also a skill set game, but it's also how many calls you take. And that determines how much you make. And so once those 2 things are in place, it's just part of the game that some people won't close. And so you have to be prepared for that going into this, that you're going to have days that you don't make any money. But it's not about that, because if you might make 2 or 3 grand tomorrow or next week or whatever it is. And so you have to extend it from a monthly basis rather than how much did I make today, or how many deals did I close? Did I not close 5 deals in a row? That doesn't matter. You just review your calls, you look at what you did, what can you improve, and you try again tomorrow. Now, when it comes to actually finding a role, a lot of you have like your hand out. And so you're like, give me a role. I want this. I want that. That's not what you do. Business owners are extremely busy. Right now, my DMs, I don't know how many, I'll show you right now. Like I just have everyone asking for roles to become my my editor every single day. I never read these ever, right? And so outreaching that way just doesn't work. You might get lucky. The likelihood is you'll just land a shit role and you'll hate it. You won't make any money. And so you have to look at it as like, well, how can I benefit this person? How can I separate myself from everybody else that's messaging business owners like this and actually make myself stand out, where someone says, okay, well, this guy's gone the extra mile in the interview process trying to get in front of me. And so what would he be like on my team? That can be joining Discord groups. It can be joining Facebook groups. It can be finding other people that are closers and reaching out to closers on Instagram, liking their content, finding ways to provide them with value, asking them for advice, asking what offers they're on. The way I landed a role with Eman, if I tried to reach out to Eman, I never would have gotten that role. Keep in mind, I had no online experience. I came from corporate sales. I was a college dropout. I only had a leaving cert to my name. I was making like $2,000 a month selling electricity. And the way I did it was I joined free Discord groups. I got on as many calls with people in that Discord group as I could, speaking to them, trying to see if there was anything I could help them with or whatever it was. Oftentimes I couldn't, but that was the approach I was taking. I was getting to know them first. I wasn't asking for anything from them, just asking questions. People love to give advice. Instead of looking to take something from them, I was just asking questions. I was constantly posting. I was trying my best to get a role. I was posting my wins, and people saw that. And so I met an Irish guy in that Discord group, and he introduced me to a closer on Eman Ghaji's team. From there, that was how I found out that Eman was looking for SDRs, and I was essentially given the link to apply. I used that closer as a referral and then just went the extra mile with the interview process. I recorded my interview. I found ways to stick it out. So it was like there was a certain set of rules that you had to follow. Like there was certain things you had to say, certain topics, and it had to be like 90 seconds. I think it was actually 60 seconds. And so I was thinking, okay, well, what would normally every person do in this scenario? Okay, well, they're just going to set up their phone. They're going to record like 60 seconds to talk about themselves. And so I got creative. I painted a whale, which was like Eman's logo at the time for Agency Navigator, and I glued it to the back of my seat. I wore a crisp, tailored, like ironed shirt. So most people would just be wearing Under Armour, that kind of stuff. And I talked about how I could add value to the team, right, with my experience in sales, in corporate sales, that kind of thing, why I had the work ethic that was required to be on that kind of team and what I would do to show up, the hours that I was willing to work. And I also mentioned that if I got the role, I'd quit my job that week. So as soon as it was approved, I would walk in on the Monday with my laptop and quit my job so I could go full time in this. And so at the time, the CEO saw that, and I think there was like 10,000 applicants, and they were taking on like 10 or 15 people. I was one of the people that was brought on the team. Statistically, apparently it was harder to get into Harvard, like numbers wise, than it is to get onto that team. And so I did. I walked into my workplace, handed in my laptop, walked at 9 o'clock, told the guy I worked for that, listen, I have an opportunity here, I can't pass it up, and I have to leave. And he was like, are you gonna call in sick? I was like, no, I actually had to leave my job. And he understood. I was the top rep there as well. And he said, look, I wish you the best of luck. Obviously a little bit strange, but he understood. And that's kind of what it all kicked off. From there, I knew, now that I was on Eman's team, once I became a closer there and I was performing, I would just be referred roles from there on. Because when you're working for a big company like that in the industry that I work in, when people see that you have a picture with Eman or you're on his team, they say, okay, well, if this guy has the ability to get on a unicorn offer like that, there's a very high chance that he's a top performer or an A player. And so they're going to want you on their team as well. So all you really have to do is land that one offer. And once you land it, don't take your foot off the gas. You double down. I was working 16-hour days. At the very beginning, I was making $1,000 a month, dollars, which is slightly above the Irish social welfare, like what you get paid for like social welfare in Ireland. I think it's like €800 a month. And I made that roughly for like 3 months. And then I started making a bit more. I was making $4,000, eventually became a closer where I was making, again, more. Was cracking my first 5-figure month or close to it. Became an SDR manager where I was managing setters. And the way I did that, by the way, was I let it be known that I wanted to progress. And so everyone wants to be a closer. All SDRs, when they come in, they want to close out. Everyone wants that. And so the difference between the people that actually become closers and the people that stay SDRs are the ones that go the extra mile. If you do just what you're told and you fulfill just what your duties are for your job, you're going to stay in that position forever. And so you have to think to yourself, well, what can I do? And how can I get proactive so that my manager or the business owner can see that I have potential to move upwards into management or into a closer? And what they look for is, okay, well, what's this guy doing outside of his daily responsibilities? Okay, he's getting on the closer coaching calls. He's role playing with other SDRs. He's getting to know the closers, getting on call with them, asking for them advice. He's reaching out to the manager every day saying, what do I have to do? And how can I set, or what can I do outside of just setting once I'm fulfilling that to become a closer? If you focus on just becoming the best SDR, what happens is that the business owner will look at you and think, well, why would I make this person a closer? And there's going to be a massive gap in my business because he's setting the most sets. What you want to do is set in a way where you're fulfilling the KPI, but outside of that, you're also learning how to close. And you're focusing a lot of your time on showing that that's something you really want. The manager on the team, the closer manager, will see that and think, oh, well, this is someone that I want on. Let me speak to the CEO and let's make it happen. That's exactly what I did. It's what I've done for JP, who's now the top rep at 7th level. It's easy. It's just most people are lazy. It's the same thing with finding jobs. If you have your hand out and you're looking for a handout, it's an easy role that someone's going to give you. Why would they give you anything? You have no skill set. You've shown no work ethic. They don't know who you are, and they have 1,000 other people asking the same question. And so the best way, if you're looking for these unicorn offers, is just go on to these groups. Get on calls with people who are already doing what you want to do. Ask them for advice. You will be referred, all right? You're role playing with them. People will see you. There's often in these groups, there's people that are looking for reps to be placed. And so if you're doing the most work, you're showing up. It's going to be in that person's best interest to make sure that if they place a setter, that person's going to be good and show up. Because the thing is, skill set can be taught, but work ethic and how you show up is just something that you have. It just depends how bad you actually want it. Everybody says they want to make money. Everybody says they want to do well in sales. But what separates the people that actually do well are the ones that have the work ethic. They're willing to work 12, 13, 14-hour days and do what's necessary to beat everybody else. It's that simple. It's a reason why it's quite a difficult position to get into to make 10K plus as a closer. Most closers will never make above 10 grand. All right, it's not because it can't be done. It's because they're just too lazy. There's a lot of opportunity out there. A lot of these big companies are actually very easy to get on because they're always looking for SDRs. They're looking for closers. They're looking for talent. But more than talent, what they're looking for is someone who has the ability to sit down at a desk and work all day. If I'm a business owner and I'm hiring a setter or a closer, specifically a setter, I want to make sure that he can take the volume. You know, for me to do outbound on my own account and to start sending messages, it's a low leverage task. I have to film content. I have to make my VSLs. I've got to manage my clients. I have B2B clients that I have to work with and take calls for. And so if I have a setter that I know, okay, he's not the best yet, but he's willing to do 100, 120 outbounds a day, which is taking in, 7-8 hours a day plus dialing. I know that I can teach him the skill set, right? It's worth my time to take a couple hours out of my week to run some calls with him and review what he's doing so that he can get to a stage where he's good. But the one thing that I can't stand and the one thing that I can't deal with is people that are just not working. They're working 3-4 hours. I see the lead quality is bad. They're not doing anything to try and fix it. They're just coming to me with problems rather than a solution. They're not going to be on my team. And that's the same for Eman. It's the same for Jamie Miner. It's the same for Brad Scales. Same for any big 8-figure offer. And so the reason why you want to go for those bigger offers eventually, you might have to land like a smaller one first to get some reps in. But the reason why the goal should be to get on those offers as a closer is because one, your reputation, you'll build a good reputation. You'll have social proof because you worked for an offer like that and you performed. Secondly, it has career progression. And so you can stay in that offer for a long time, starting off as an SDR, become a closer and a manager and so on. And thirdly, it's just the best opportunity that there is, right? And so you can learn everything you need to know about sales just from being on that offer. Often they'll have fantastic sales managers. They'll have teams that will coach you on sales. And once you're in the team, everything you need to learn, everything you need to do, all the money you need to make, all the opportunities in there. Generally, to start off, sometimes even what JP did was that he'll land, let's say, an offer that's not so great, but it's okay because he's willing to take that hit. Right. And so what it means is he's getting reps. He can take calls. He can get practice. It's not about making money. It's just getting on calls to be able to run through the sales process, the script, getting used to saying it. And so when he gets a better opportunity, he's ready, right? That's another thing, is preparation. And so it's the same thing with training. It's the same thing with sales, everything. If you're doing the work when there's no result that you can get straight away, for example, you're role playing, but you can't make any money from it, right? You're role playing in your room to a friend. It's that boring work that has no direct outcome or quick win that pays off, because what it means is when the opportunity comes your way, you'll be ready. It's the same thing with the gym, right? Let's say I'm training. If I go to the gym one day and I do a crazy hard workout, I'm going to failure on every single set. I wake up the same way tomorrow. Right, so I know that nothing's going to change tomorrow. But if I do that consistently 4 or 5 days a week for 6 months, I will look completely different. And that's what pays off. It's like you have to rewire your brain to get rid of the idea of quick wins, right? Where it's like, if I role play today, why have I not gotten the role? Why am I not good at sales yet? It's the work you do outside of that, in terms of where it's basically free. You can't make any money from it, role playing, call reviews, getting on offers where you can't make a lot of money, but you can have a lot of reps. That's the work that will separate you from becoming an A player rather than a B player. And so what you want to do is do that, role play, invest in yourself, invest in a coach. It can be me, it can be someone else, it doesn't matter. But invest in sales coaching. I've invested 60 grand in sales coaching, in B2B, on how to run VSLs, build teams, everything. And it's all paid off. All of that has led me to get what I have now, which is the money that I'm making, living in Dubai, looking at a 45th floor apartment on the marina. If you said to me 2 years ago that I would have done this quickly, I wouldn't have believed you, but I wouldn't have done it this fast if I hadn't learned from people who knew more than me, who were able to tell me, instead of doing this, do this instead. This is the fast way to do it. I learned that the hard way. So I learned from other people's mistakes. But I know people that did it even fucking faster than me, right? Because from the very beginning, that's what they did. For me, it took me a little while for that to click in my brain. Instead of taking it 2 years, it could have taken me 1 year. It could have taken even less. And so that's what you want to do. If you really, really want to win, it's moving with speed as fast as you can, but making sure that what you're working on is as efficient as possible, that you're being tactical. Okay, you're learning from the best person that there is, or the best person that you trust that feel that can get you the result. You're getting reps because you're waiting on a unicorn offer. So while you're applying for these unicorn offers, you're getting maybe a slightly shit role where there's not a lot of upside, but what there is upside on is the reps that you're taking. You can practice your scripts, you can practice your role plays, you can show that you have the work ethic, and you can keep those receipts when you go on your interview for an 8-figure per year offer where you're looking for an SDR role or a closer role. And once you have that, someone's going to look at it and like, this guy's a winner, because all the other guys I spoke to today have been asking what the pay is. They've been asking how many hours they have to work. It's like me. But when you go on an interview and say, listen, I applied for this role a month ago. In the meantime, here's what I've done to be proactive. I've taken a role. I've taken these sales calls. I can send you some sales calls that I've taken. I would love some feedback on them. I was dialing $200 a day, trying to set my own lead so I could practice. How else do you think I could improve? How can I come on this team? How can I perform the best I possibly can? What do you usually notice with the best reps? Like, what character traits do they have? What would you recommend I do so that I can ascend as quickly as possible in this team and make sure that it's all value driven, where I can help not only myself but also people on the team? What makes a good manager? What makes a good SDR? These are the questions you want to ask, because what it shows the interviewer is, okay, well, this person's best interest is obviously in himself, but he wants to come in and not only provide value to him but also to the team, myself. That's what they want to see, and that's what you have to do. It's actually very easy. It's not this complicated thing. Like, the difference from you working a job that you don't like now to be able to get into this industry and make the money you want to make, 10 grand plus per month, is 4 or 5 major decisions, which is the training you do on a daily basis, it's the companies that you apply for, it's the people that you learn from, it's the time that you spend role playing, call reviewing, it's the scripts that you're studying, and it's the questions that you're asking on interviews, it's the people that you're meeting, it's the networking you're doing, it's the other closers, other managers that you're asking advice from, role playing with, meeting in groups. All of that stuff compounds where it just becomes inevitable that you'll land a role. The minute that you have the opportunity to take some calls, that's when it all starts. If you can prove that you can show up and do the work and you have a solid work ethic, the right people will come to you. The people will find you. The people that you want in your life will find you. Every time that I forced it and that I tried to get on this role or that role when I was starting off, it never happened. But when I just did the inputs, the right people came to me. I got noticed. That's on Eman's team. It was on Jeremy Polk's team. It was on Bill Walsh's team. It was on even now working with Sue on a rev share basis where I'm a partner with him. I take rev share and I get 15% commission. And so with that, that's how it all pays off. Eventually, once you keep working, you'll look back in a year and you'll notice it gets easier. You have all this leverage where now you're working on a consulting basis. You're getting paid per call. There's people looking for consulting from you. And so at the beginning, it's always the most work, and you have to be ready for that. You have to have the mindset to be like, okay, well, this is not so much about winning right now. It's about learning. And even if I don't make all the money in the world, I don't make that much money, I have some savings, and this is now going to be spent on what I have to learn to be able to get to the next stage where I'm making 10, 15, 20 grand a month, right? It might take you 6 months. It might take you a year. It might take you 2 years, or it could even take longer. But what it means is that you're doing something proactively to change your life. When I was 19, if you told me that I'd be in this position at 24, I wouldn't have believed you. I didn't even think this was possible. There's a lot of people that are maybe watching this that still think that are looking at me thinking this guy's talking absolute bullshit. But this is proof. I'm in an apartment here in Dubai in the marina. I'm going to move here. I have my Emirates ID arriving on Monday, but I'm never going to leave. It was that easy. It took less than it would have taken me to finish my college degree. And so if that's not enough proof for you, then nothing will change. Every person that's taken that chance into a space that they're unsure about, or they don't know, where they've made an uncomfortable decision, they've never regretted it. I've never heard anyone come to me and say, I regretted trying something new. I regretted trying to improve my life, to make more money, to start my own business, to get into sales, to become a good closer, to work 12, 14-hour days when I was starting off so that I could get to where I am right now. I don't regret any of it. And so that's the mentality you have to have. Show up, do the work, do the inputs, find the right people, because they're everywhere. They're on Instagram, they're on Discord, there's free Discord groups you can join, free school groups where you can get free training. There's a ton of YouTube information there. Leave comments. This is how you find people. There's a lot of free things out there that you can start off with, and there's a lot of paid things too. And so if you do that, you show up, you're role playing, you meet other people, you do the work, people will notice your work ethic, because skill set can be taught, but work ethic can't. You have to have that yourself. That comes from you. That's your own responsibility, and you're accountable for that. And it comes down to how bad you actually want it. If it's a maybe, if you're just interested in it, it's not going to work. But if you are willing to put everything you have into making this work, I've never seen anybody fully try and put everything they have into this and not win. It's always just been the half-ass guys who take the weekends off, who are partying, who are spending too much time with their girlfriends or whatever it is. This is a working season, and you do it for a short period of time. You work as efficiently as possible. You learn from people that know more than you, and you will get what you're looking for. It's that simple. There's no complicated process. There's no secret. It always boils down to the same thing. And that's something I wanted to cover today. I hope that was helpful. What I might do in the next video is walk through a slide deck in terms of an actual process you can use to really land a role. right? So that's what to say on interviews, where to look for them, how to show that you have a good work ethic, how to keep receipts of you doing, dials on smaller offers that maybe aren't so great, but it shows work ethic. Let me know down below in the comments, and I can make a slide deck on that as well.